I'm excited to learn things I didn't even know. I've been with Nutrena for about 3 years now, and I have been with Coastal since last year, taking on the Yakima and Wenatchee stores, and super excited. Just like I said, anything we can learn. So really grateful to be here again.
And then I'm Brian. I have been with Nutrena. We're getting close to a year now. But before that, I managed a feed store for 4 years and then have worked in one since I was 15, and grew up with all kinds of critters running around my house. So been through it, a lot of it, clearly not all. And so super pumped to be working with Coastal still. And then tonight, here we have Twain Lockhart, who is a poultry specialist with Nutrena, and one of the pioneers of our duck feed. So super excited to have him on here talking to y'all about duck feed and Feather Fixer today.
You want me to go ahead and take it from there, Brian?
Go for it, Twain.
Okay, hey everybody. Twain Lockhart, been with Cargill Nutrena for about 11 years. Before that, I owned and operated a feed store in Central California, South Central California, and we specialized in poultry. So if you're tuning in here tonight wanting a PhD that has the alphabet behind your name, you're going to be a little disappointed. I don't have that, but I've been raising chickens since I was about 6 years old, and I'm old. So I've had them for a long time, not just chickens. If it's had feathers, I've probably raised it at some time or another, including dabbling with emus for a while, and that didn't go well. Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about a couple of products, the Feather Fixer Crumble. And to talk about Feather Fixer Crumble, let's talk about Feather Fixer. Okay, we brought that out about 7 years ago. I was involved in its development, and we wanted a feed for chickens when they molt. Okay, and if you're not familiar, if you're brand new, your chickens molt every year. They usually do this at about 15 to 18 months of age, and then they'll do it every year thereafter. Well, while they're molting, they don't lay eggs. Okay, feathers are made of protein, eggs are made of protein. So while that molting process is going on, late summer, early fall, you don't get any eggs. So we developed a feed especially to bring them out of molt faster. But we also wanted to have a feed that was just going to be a top shelf, like Rolls Royce of layer feeds. And it really took off in the show world. I'd like to say, yeah, we knew the show people were going to get behind it, but I'd be lying. That just kind of happened. So then we market to them and we supported them. And in the show world, they call it the king of chicken feeds. And there's many pretenders to the throne, but there's only one king, and that's Feather Fixer. It has pre and probiotics. It's also got a immune system booster called Flock Shield. Those work together just for the overall health of your bird. It is a high energy feed. It is an 18% protein. It is also the only retail poultry feed that has a feed through insect control. So there is a product in there called Poultry Shield that helps keep the insects, the lice and the mites off your chickens. Now, you see lice and mites on your chickens, do something, get some poultry dust, take care of it, because it takes about 6 weeks for the Poultry Shield to get in the bird system. It's a natural product. It's a sulfur compound. It creates an environment around the bird's vent so the bugs don't like it, and you eventually get rid of your lice and your mites, but it takes a while to get in their system. So it really brings out the plumage very nicely in the bird. So that was kind of the side effect of this molting diet, was the show people love it, and they feed it year round. A lot of people feed it year round. I feed it to my girls all year round as well. Okay, so that being said, it's a mini pellet in most places, a smaller pellet, but you have a lot of Bantams that are very, very tiny that cannot eat a pellet, let alone, they can't eat a mini pellet, let alone a full-size pellet. So we really needed a crumble. So we listened. The show people especially wanted this for their Bantams, so we brought it out. Now, not all Bantams are the same size. You know, you get into your real little guys like the Seabrights and the Nankins and the Saramas, they really cannot even eat a mini pellet. So the crumbles are very, very important for them. There's 3 Bantams in the show world for every standard size chicken. And the show world's pretty big. If you've never been to a chicken show, I highly recommend you check one out. They're usually free or very inexpensive to go to. You will see breeds of chickens that you've never seen before. It's a lot of 4-H kids. It's usually a whole lot of fun. I highly recommend it. You might even get into a new hobby. Showing chickens is a lot of fun. You know, they've been showing chickens since the 1850s. So, I mean, it's been around for a long, long, long time. Anyway, we developed this as a crumble. Now, a lot of people just prefer crumbles. We have found 40% of the people that feed laying feed, prefer crumbles over pellets. So to have Feather Fixer only available in a pellet, we were missing a part of the market. So we listened. We brought this out in a crumble. We've just really seen Bantams explode this year. I think Coastal was telling me you guys were way up in your Bantam sales. So anybody with Bantams, or even if you just prefer crumbles, now you can get a top shelf layer feed. You can feed it all year round. Coastal has it. I think it's on sale this week, correct?
Starting tomorrow, it is on sale for $5 off until the 15th. So,
wow.
Yeah, that is huge, huge.
Yeah.
The Feather Fixer pellet and the crumble. So.
Okay. We actually, I think we are the only national retail poultry feed that has a Bantam on the bag. There's a gold Seabright hen on the Feather Fixer crumbles. So for you Bantam people, we love you. You know, we heard you. You spoke, we listened, and we came out with a feed just for you. But it's not just for Bantams. If you have standard sized chickens, they can eat this just fine. Anyway, can we move on to the duck? Do we have a graphic for the duck to move on, or do we want to do questions on the Feather Fixer? How do you want to do this?
We don't have any questions yet, but I do want to let everybody watching know, if you guys have a question, Twain is here, an awesome expert, so go ahead and type it in. It doesn't even necessarily have to be about either of these feeds that we're talking about tonight. You heard he has been in the chicken industry for a long, long time, and he is an expert. So, I mean, from, what did you say, 6 years old was when you started?
Yeah, I've been doing it a long time. I don't, you know, one of the things about your poultry PhDs, we have access to them, okay? And I have nothing against those guys, or ladies, but quite frankly, most of those people don't own chickens, nor have they ever had chickens. I bet you didn't know that. So all their experience comes out of a textbook. And yes, they're very, very valuable, have that knowledge for formulation and things like that. But my experience is all practical. I've seen an awful lot. No, I'm not the most knowledgeable guy out there, but I've seen a lot when it comes to poultry. So if I can help you, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Definitely. So anybody watching, if you have questions, go ahead, type them in the comments. If we kind of hit a good breaking point midway, we can handle a couple, or we'll address them at the end. And I do see we have one that popped up. What will my chickens look like when they go through molt?
Good question. They will lose, I'm going to say, about a quarter of their feathers, maybe a third. Some birds molt hard, some molt easy, meaning an easy molter, they'll lose them gradually. They don't look as horrible. And then a hard molter, you'll just come out one day and oh my God, they just look awful. Okay. They usually do this late summer, early fall. Don't panic if they start doing it kind of towards winter. They'll get through it. Stress can make them molt longer. When they're molting, this is not a good time to introduce new chickens to the flock or move the coop or anything like that. They don't need that stress. They don't want to be handled. You just want to kind of feed them well, give them a high protein diet like the Feather Fixer. And it is actually formulated the amino acids, especially for feather formulation. So feed them well, don't stress them out, don't handle them, and get them through that molt. It usually takes about 8 to 10 weeks to get them through the molt. But yes, they will be quite ugly. And they seem like they know it. They're kind of ashamed of themselves a little bit. They know they're not pretty at the moment. But when they molt in, their feathers are all new. And they're very beautiful, and they just got a new suit of feathers, and they're very, very pleased with themselves.
Yes, I always tell people, just make sure, don't panic.
Yeah. And they're not going to lay. They'll probably completely dry up on the eggs while they're molting. And remember, they won't do this the first year. So you folks that just got into chickens this year, it won't be till next summer, okay, that they'll molt on you.
Now, I have a question for you. You talked about the difference, kind of the variation between molting. is that going to vary just kind of like per chicken, or is that going to vary breed to breed? Is there one breed that molts a little easier, one that goes a little faster? Is it just kind of luck of the draw?
It's kind of luck of the draw. It's individual by chicken. I mean, I have naked necks or Turkins, and oh my God, they are awful looking when they molt because they already don't have any feathers on their neck. And they molt down, and they actually look like topless waitresses when they molt, when they run around in the yard. But it's pretty entertaining. My neighbors get a kick out of that. So they molt worse than anybody, I think, just because they're already starting off with less feathers. But it's individual by chicken, not so much by breed.
Awesome. Okay. We do have another question. How long does molt last normally, and will this feed shorten the time?
Yeah, it usually lasts about 8 to 12 weeks. And the feather fixer was designed to shorten that time, get them back into laying eggs again, get them back into production, and bring the feathers in nicer. So yeah, it is designed to reduce the time of that molting process.
Awesome. That's all our questions for molting right now. Okay. and the feather fixer. So if you want to keep rolling, we'll just let more questions rolling in.
Okay, why don't we jump into the duck?
Perfect.
Okay, so we just came out with a brand new Country Feeds duck. It was a year in the making. We didn't just, hey, let's throw some chicken feed in a duck bag and off we go. And I'm not going to say other companies do that. I know the national companies don't. Some of your, local mills, when I look at the tags, I think, oh, yeah, it's kind of like layer feed in a duck bag. But okay, we're not going to name names. And like I say, your national companies won't do that. Anyway, that being said, we interviewed several nationally known waterfowl breeders that they show all over the country, and basically said, what do you want? If you could design a perfect duck feed, what would you do? Okay, so, and I was actually the one that interviewed these guys because I knew them. And we sat down and talked, and then we took all these bullet points, and then they all overlapped. They all had the same bullet points, maybe not quite in the same order, but pretty close. First thing they wanted a higher niacin level. Ducks need more niacin than you get in chicken feed, and they need it for their legs. Okay, it's very, very important. We guarantee 60 parts per million niacin, and it actually exceeds the minimum requirement for ducks. Plus, then you have whatever niacin occurs naturally in the ingredients of the feed. So it's enhanced niacin. Ducks don't need as much calcium. This is very important. If you get too much calcium in the diet, especially with your males, the drakes, it can actually kill them. And you don't hear about this too often. I'm not going to say it happens all the time, but you don't hear about it too often because very few people have a duck die and then take it and have a necropsy. That's a $10 word for an autopsy. Have a necropsy done on the duck to find out what killed it. But too much calcium in the diet can actually kill your male ducks. So having a reduced calcium level and a higher niacin level, those were very important. Having animal byproducts. Now, normally we have a negative connotation when we say, oh my God, it has animal byproducts. That's terrible. But for poultry, they're not vegans, guys. They are omnivores. They need that animal byproducts. Your show people will tell you right to your face, point blank, and this was one of the top things they wanted. You cannot put a duck in top show condition without animal byproducts in the diet. So it's in there. Pre and probiotics. This helps with the digestion. About 60% of a bird's overall health is tied to its gut. So having that gut health helps with the overall health. It helps with feed conversion so they don't eat as much. I've heard people say they have firmer stools. I don't know with ducks. I've had ducks, and I don't know that that's even a thing, a firm stool with a duck. But anyway, they convert their food better. They eat less. They're just healthier too. Okay. Also, small pellet, having it in a mini pellet, because there's a lot of call ducks out there and smaller like bantam ducks, the little guys, but call ducks are the primary ones. We had you folks in mind, you call duck breeders. Most call ducks won't even eat a full-size pellet, or they can't physically eat a full-size pellet. So we made this in a small pellet. We also made it a nice hard pellet. For my feed colleagues, it's a 98 PDI, and I don't know if you know what that means, but that's a real hard pellet. because ducks, the way they eat, it looks like they're playing in their food in the water, but they're really not. They have to keep their nasal membranes in their mouth and their nostrils wet at all times when they're eating. So they grab the food, they dip it in the water, then they eat it. So we need a nice hard pellet so it doesn't just turn to mush. Okay. So all these bullet points. The other thing we did was we formulated this for lower mycotoxin levels. Ducks are hypersensitive to mycotoxins. Okay. If you don't know what the mycotoxins are, they're the naturally occurring funguses and in grain, usually corn and wheat. And it gets tricky because not every year you have a lot of mycotoxins. We test for them anyway, but they can still slip through the cracks. Well, there are certain ingredients that we excluded in the Country Feeds duck that tend to concentrate mycotoxins. We excluded those. Where this comes into play is in your breeders, you will probably have a much higher hatch rate than normal. I can't promise this because the data is still kind of new coming out of the game bird world, but it's not going to hurt them having those lower mycotoxin levels. Trust me, it's a real good thing having that. So we hit all the bullet points that these duck breeders wanted. It's a 50-pound bag. It's an 18% protein. Now, there's a lot of conjecture on what is the perfect protein level for ducks. When they are molting, they need a very low protein, kind of opposite of chickens, because they can get a condition called angel wing. But most of the duck breeders told us 18% was kind of the optimum protein level. And if you want to go lower, you can always cut that with some scratch or mix in some oats, something like that to bring that protein level down a little bit. But they all told us 18% was the optimum protein level. It's a 50-pound bag. It's competitively priced. And I think it's on sale too, isn't it?
Yep, $5 off as well.
Wow, that's really got to bring that price down, make it real affordable. It's feeding very well. I'm seeing a lot of buzz about both of these products on the poultry show forums and on the duck forums. The biggest complaint I get about the duck feed, the only complaint I get about the duck feeds, they're having trouble finding it because it sells out so fast. So if you guys have plenty of it, I hope you do. That's the only complaint I ever see about this product. And the duck people are telling me it feeds really well. The ducks like it. They can eat it well. It doesn't turn to mush. So I think you'll be real happy with both of these products.
Awesome. We have a couple questions about the animal byproducts.
Okay.
Where do they come from and what are they?
Out there, Brian, didn't you tell me you guys are using whey?
Yeah, out of our feed mills, the animal byproduct in the Country Feed duck that we will have access to is whey protein.
Okay.
Awesome.
And that's a milk byproduct if in case somebody doesn't know what whey is. So.
All right. Awesome. Hopefully that answers those questions. I know a little bit, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, we talked about the duck feed a little bit, but not quite as in depth as this. So this has been awesome. Annie, did you have anything to add?
I did actually, Twain. I was going to have you, can you maybe for the new duck people, can you explain maybe what like niacin is? I know you went into great detail of what it is, but maybe someone doesn't realize, what it is and why it's important.
Well, it's very important. I don't know the mechanics of it, but it's very important for their leg health. And on the bag, on the Country Feeds duck bag, if you look, it's got like a picture of a duck foot. And that's actually supposed to be their leg. And a lot of people will feed chicken feed and then they supplement with a niacin supplement. And so now you don't have to do that. It's complete. And by the way, you feed this from 4 weeks forward. The Nature-Wise Chick Starter works great for the first 4 weeks, and then you go to this for the rest of their life. The reason why we didn't do an all life stages is, and there are some all life stages pellets out there, but I don't know how you get a newly hatched duckling to eat a pellet. I just don't know how that works. So we opted to do from 4 weeks forward a complete diet, until 4 weeks until, they go to the Rainbow Bridge or whatever you want to call it, the freezer, however you're doing your ducks. The other thing, and I got to be careful here because it's off label. All right. I don't know if you have anybody, do you have anybody that has peafowl, peacocks?
Oh yeah.
You do. Okay. Country Feeds duck is going to probably be a very, very good peafowl feed. Now, I got to be careful because I'm talking off label here, but anything peafowl people are feeding is already off label because there's no peafowl feed out there. There's nobody makes a peafowl feed. So having the low calcium is critical. The male peafowl, peacocks, have all kinds of issues with calcium. The niacin level is not so important to them, but the low mycotoxin level is going to be really important to them, and the animal byproduct in there. So if you have people with peafowl, I think they might do very well with this. I can't, there's nothing in there that'll hurt them, and it has that low mycotoxin levels. We don't have any other poultry feeds that have as low a mycotoxin level as the Country Feeds duck.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's great. Great info. We do have another question. My chickens and ducks all shelter and eat together. What do you suggest?
Oh boy. Okay, I've got to give you my pat disclaimer. They'll tell you you're not supposed to mix species because they can share all kinds of biosecurity problems. Okay, but everybody does it. So moving forward, I had to throw that out there though, just the disclaimer so they can't come back and say, well, the Nutrena guy didn't say anything about that. Ducks are tougher than nails. Ducks typically don't get sick. It's your ducks that typically can make your chickens sick. Just saying that. They could both eat the Country Feeds duck. That would be the direction I would probably go, just because it has everything designed for the duck, and there's nothing in there that's going to hurt the chickens. You could also do an all-flock type product that would work okay. Either one of those would work well. They can both have scratch. Scratch is just a treat. It's like candy. Shouldn't exceed about 10% of the diet. Now, if you're out there and that's all you feed your chickens, that's okay. You're not going to kill them, but they're not going to lay very well, and it's going to take them forever to go through molt. Okay, but scratch is just a treat. But your ducks and chickens like it. But yeah, the all flock or the duck feed would both work really well for your mixed flock.
Awesome.
Twain, I don't know, Meg, if I'm interrupting, let me know. But I get a question quite frequently asked in the store, especially during chick season. And since you're on here, medicated chick starter and ducks.
Ooh, no, big no. Do not do that.
Right. And can you explain why?
Well, the easy answer is Amprolium is not approved for waterfowl, but Amprolium is a thiamine blocker, okay? And thiamine affects the niacin, and then you have leg issues. End of the day, what I was told is duck breeders will tell you, you'll get away with it, 9 times out of 10, but that 10th time you'll come in and every duck in your tank is dead. So you don't feed medicated feed. The easy answer is Amprolium's not approved for waterfowl, but that's why. It has to do with that thiamine blocking. That's the way it was explained to me. So
perfect.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, don't feed medicated feed, and that goes for geese too, or swans. So.
All right, awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I'm going to give people just a little bit of time to ask any last minute questions. But I did want to remind everybody who is watching us on Facebook that we are actually dual streaming for, I believe, the second time now. So you can be either watching us via Facebook or via our website, coastalcountry.com. And if you are on Facebook, make sure you head over to our website. We have a page built out where you can go ahead and watch a recap of this video. There's also some great product links on there. There's some more information about Twain as well. And Twain, your blog, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm not sure if that's the Scoop from the Coop or which one that is. Yeah,
I
assist with that. That's not just me. That's Nutrena's blog. And I do answer a lot of the poultry questions on there, but there's also, there's other people that do too. There's times that you really do need the PhD to step in, when you get deep into like methionine levels and things like that. So that's a group effort.
Awesome. Well, that's one thing that, we love about you guys. You understand that sometimes it takes a village, and you guys always have an awesome team full of people really centered around each species. I see Annie there. She's got her Twain Lockhart Team Nutrena up there in honor of you tonight. And, we just really appreciate the high quality feeds that come from you guys. Knowing exactly what is in every single bag from you is so important as we feed our livestock, and we cannot be happier to have it on our shelves and to have you guys hanging out with us on chats like this, where we get to dive deep into the nutrition aspect and, kind of get all the details from you guys. So I'm going to check and see if we have any last minute questions here. It looks like
go for it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Do meat birds need a different feed than layers?
That's a good question. Yes. Okay. Now, there's a lot of confusion here because you can eat pretty much any chicken. Okay. That does not make it a meat bird. Okay. I know people that eat bantams. Okay. That does not make them a meat bird. When we talk about meat birds, we're typically talking about Cornish crosses. Okay. That is primarily what we're dealing with. Those are the ones you walk into the feed store, they're a tank by themselves, a little white chicks, and they're dumber than a bag of hammers, and I'm not exaggerating. Yes, they do need to be fed differently. They should be fed a different diet. They grow crazy fast, guys. 8 weeks from hatch to freezer. Seriously, 56 days from the day they're a little fluff ball to basically on your plate. And they really are super efficient. But you feed them a meat bird diet because they need a higher protein to build up the muscular skeletal system to hold all that weight, because they're super efficient. They grow really fast. Now, depending on your meat bird feed, what meat bird feeds do you guys carry?
They carry Nature-Wise meat bird as well as Country Companion meat bird.
Okay. The Nature-Wise meat bird has pre and probiotics in it. Okay. So the birds are going to grow significantly faster. This is great. Although it does have a little bit of a downside, they can actually grow too fast. So the way you should feed your meat birds, especially if they have the pre and probiotics, free feed the first 3 to 5 days, just like any other chicken. Chickens are great at self-regulating their food, except for these things. So the Cornish crosses, the first 3 to 5 days, free feed them. Then after that, 12 hours on, 12 off. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need a timer. Just don't fill the feeders at night. These guys are like the Homer Simpsons of the chicken world. They eat, they sleep, they poop, repeat. That's all they do. Okay. So they literally, and I am not kidding, they will fall asleep with their head in the trough, the eyes pop open, and they just start eating. They do this all the time. They actually grow so fast they can have heart attacks on you. And it's common enough. They have a name for it called flip over syndrome. So just restrict the diet. You can almost set your watch about 10 pounds of feed per bird from hatch to finish. I like to do 8 weeks, and that's where that 10-pound mark is. That'll give you about a 5.5 to 6 pound dressed Cornish cross. So remember, the other thing, don't mix these with your other chickens. I handle a lot of the complaints, the poultry complaints. Those complaints all start with, your feed sucks. Oh, okay, sir, what's going on? Well, my Cornish crosses are, 17 weeks old and they weigh a pound. Oh, wow, there's a lot going on here and none of it's good. I know what that is now. Well, what kind of chickens do you have them with, sir? Oh, they're in with my laying hens. You can't mix them with the other chickens. The other chickens will actually restrict their diet for them. They'll pick on them. They won't let them eat. They might kill them, but they'll restrict their diet almost to the point of starvation, so they don't gain weight like they're supposed to. Keep them by themselves and make sure they're well ventilated. This is not a good summertime project. They don't deal with real hot summer real well. They do okay with the cold and cool, but not real hot. Okay, so they're not that tough to do. They taste great. Kind of think this project out a little bit. It's kind of like having fruit that all comes ripe at the same time. They're all going to come ready to process. You can kind of stagger them 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. But if you've never processed chickens before, look, honey, they're on sale. They're only, $1.50 a piece. Let's get 100 of them. You might want to think that out. That might be real daunting when it comes time to pluck all those chickens. Do you guys, Coastal, do you sell chicken pluckers? Is that something you guys have?
I believe we do, yes.
All right, because I'm telling you, if you're going to get into the meat bird thing, those make life so much easier. Lastly, on the meat birds, there's a few other meat birds you may see, like Red Rangers or Freedom Rangers. They're not as delicate as the Cornish cross. They're more like 12 weeks instead of 8 weeks. You don't have to restrict the diet. No, by no means the brightest monkey in the meadow, but way smarter than a Cornish cross. But here's the big kicker, and people don't realize this, so I'm going to tell you, it's mostly dark meat. I like them. I like the Red Rangers, but it's going to be almost all dark meat, where the Cornish cross is going to produce mostly white meat. So just throwing that out there. I know somebody asked what time it was, and I told them how to build a watch, but I feel like I'm remiss if I don't kind of fill them in on that. And so they don't make the same mistakes I made when I first started with meat chickens.
No, I think that's awesome. Great information. Twain, Annie, or Brian, do you have any last comments to go ahead and add before we hop off here?
I just want to add that, throughout this whole conversation we've had, that you've heard topics or words and pre and probiotics, and amino acid probably hasn't come up, but next week our topic is going to be amino acids and pre and probiotics, what they are, and why you hear us talk about them so frequently in all of our feeds, whether it's NatureWise to horse feed to dog food. So Brian and I are going to go in depth with those specific topics to kind of help educate you guys to, why we say that so much and why it's super important and how it's really key to your animal's nutrition.
Do you have that picture that I don't know if you've seen the picture I use with the 3 chickens?
I do have that. Yes. And we'll put that on the website.
Yeah. Show that, because that I can blab for an hour and it's not as effective as that one picture, because that definitely shows the difference between non-pre and probiotic and pre and probiotic, the difference in the weight gain. It's amazing.
Awesome. I can't wait. We love doing these weekly things, and I just want to remind everybody, maybe if you tuned in a little bit late, you can either go back at the beginning, watch this video from right here on Facebook, or where we are also streaming live. This video will also live on our website, coastalcountry.com, and you guys can go ahead, head over there, check out this page, watch this video. There's a link for the Nutrena blog, Scoop from the Coop, correct?
Yes.
That's it.
Awesome. I love it. And Annie, can you go ahead and just remind us real quick before we hop off, which feeds are on sale right now and starting tomorrow?
You betcha. So the feeds we talked about today, which would be the NatureWise Feather Fixer, the pellet, which has been in your guys' stores for a long time, but the new NatureWise Feather Fixer Crumble, which is this beautiful light blue bag that has a bantam on the bag. It's awesome. It is $5 off this feed, as well as our Country Feeds new duck feed, which is also a nice, pretty, bright blue bag as well. So get in there, get your blue bags at $5 off starting tomorrow until the 15th.
And then if you're just a regular layer kind of person, the NatureWise layer pellets and crumbles are also on sale through the end of September. So better than your standard just grocery store layer feed. Those added pre and probiotics, that added immune system booster, Flock Shield, all of the greatness for a layer that you could get.
Awesome. All the greatness. I love it. Well, and if you want all the greatness for no matter what species of animal you have, tune in next week and we will chat all about, just kind of those basic things that go into making Nutrena feeds so great, whether you're raising chickens or raising equines, anything kind of in the whole range. We'll chat about it. So, Twain, Annie, Brian, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. This was a ton of fun. I know I learned something new every time we do these. I know our customers do too. So we just really appreciate it. Twain, special thank you to you. I know you're a couple hours ahead of us, so it's a little bit later there. So thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join us. And hopefully we'll all chat again soon.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.